industrial relations, because that bill is set to pass this week after David Pocock gave it the green light to go through the Senate. The ACT Teal senator was pleased with his work, extracting what I reckon are pretty meagre concessions from Labor in exchange for his crucial vote. Have a listen to what he had to say.
I believe we've landed in a really good middle ground that has protections for small businesses, some real concessions, protecting small and medium-sized businesses.
Yeah, some real concessions, sure. That's why unions around the country are breaking out the champagne. Joining me now is Australian Industry Group Chief Executive Innes Willox. Good to talk to you, Innes. Just help me out here with what Pocock has actually... I mean, he was in a powerful position, the one vote that could have extracted some changes from Labor. And the main change is that small businesses who were going to get roped into this if they had 15 employees or more, now it has to be 20 employees or more. I mean, if this is a problem for a small business with 15 employees or 20 employees, it's going to be still a big problem for businesses with 30, 40, 50 employees, isn't it?
Well, Chris, that's what we've been arguing right through. If a bad proposal is a bad proposal, it's bad for everyone, no matter what their size. So, look, what Senator Pocock extracted, if I can use that word, from the government is pretty minor stuff. In fact, it might have made things worse and more confusing, and I can come back to that in a minute. The move from 15 to 20 is pretty much meaningless. Look, it doesn't matter your size. If you want to grow your business, at some point you're going to reach that 20 threshold and go over it. And this is going to be a massive disincentive for small business to grow and employ. And, you know, it's just not enough. I mean, it's a little bit like, unfortunately, he's a genuine guy, Senator Pocock, but he sort of blew the whistle at three-quarter time. You would never have seen Brian Harradine or the Democrats during their debates with the John Howard on the GST or the Greens on any issue, you know, sort of give up the ghost before the game was over. And that's unfortunately what's happened here. The fact is, Chris, we still haven't seen the bill. Nobody's seen the bill, and it's going to get debated later this week. This is the most fundamental change to workplace relations in 40 years, and 2 days out, nobody's seen the legislation, and the government is not able to produce it yet, and it's not able to produce it for scrutiny or questioning. So this is going to be a diabolical situation for employers. The only winners really are going to be the unions and employment lawyers. There's so much vagueness and vagaries in this. What Senator Pocock agreed to was that businesses could be roped in to multi-party bargaining on the basis that they were reasonably comparable. What does that mean? Does that mean that a big trucking company is comparable to a small family-run courier company? That's just bizarre, but that's sort of the situation that we're facing at the moment.
In practical terms, this is the fear, isn't it? You might be running a medium-sized business, say you're a furniture manufacturer or a furniture retailer even, and because of some action somewhere else, you're roped into bargaining that might include your competitors. You're suddenly having to go into the same industrial regime as your competitors, whereas your relationship with your workforce and productivity might be the strongest thing in your business.
Well, absolutely. Every business is different, Chris. It doesn't matter if they all make widgets. They make widgets differently. They have different size workforces. They have different aspirations. They have different views around innovation, around R&D, all those sort of things. Every business is different, but what this is doing is just throwing businesses that are quote unquote reasonably comparable into a bucket and then saying you can fight it out, and you have to go to it has to then be decided by the Fair Work Commission if they are reasonably comparable or not. So what it's really doing is taking the rights of businesses to run their businesses and to work with their workforces, take that away from them.
Absolutely. It's taking away their independence in a large way. And the agenda here, surely, though, is that once these sort of multi-party negotiations are underway, you're going to have union reps going into these workplaces, and it's going to be an opportunity for them to unionise more workplaces, more people. This is all about unions that represent fewer than 1 in 10 in the private sector, desperately trying to boost those membership numbers, isn't it?
Well, fundamentally, it will give the unions much more say, and at the moment they have rights of veto under the legislation around different aspects of whether businesses can get out of agreements or how agreements are settled. It's essentially giving unions, who may only have a very minor role in a workplace, a huge role in the outcome of wage negotiations that they don't have at the moment. So that right of veto is still there. It's of huge concern. I'll give you another one, Chris. What's been left behind on the table here is that if a business gets into a rostering dispute with an employee, you want them to work 9 till 5 and they want to work 8 till 4 or whatever, because it suits the business to work 9 till 5. They can now be taken to the Fair Work Commission by that employee. If the employer loses that case, they face a $66,000 fine. Now, that's just ludicrous, and that's still in the legislation.
Wow.
So the point I'd make, Chris, is we haven't seen it. 2 days out from when it's going to be debated, I went back and I looked. Julia Gillard, to her credit, spent 2 weeks when the Fair Work Act was being drawn up, 2 weeks with employer and union reps going through the detail.
I wish I had it with me. The last draft I had on my desk, 250 pages. You got to get through this stuff in detail. Thanks for joining us, Innes.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Chris.
Take care.